It's the Truist Don't Call Me Wells Fargo Championship, live from Steven and I's backyard of Philadelphia. We're here to break it all down on Fairway to Heaven, live in 30 seconds. And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fairway to Heaven right here on the STT Sports Network. We are live, YouTube, Twitter here, breaking down this week's PGA Tour event. But first, please do me the favor, hit that like button, hit that share button, and please subscribe to the STT Sports Network, sitting at 518 subscribers now, inching ever so closer to that 1,000 number. So please like, share, subscribe, and of course, get interactive with the show. Even if you're watching this on replay, we do check all replay comments, the replay gang, and we will respond to them. Talking all things fantasy golf and gambling on the game of golf right here on the STT Sports Network. I'm Phil Stiefel. We got Mr. Steven Fuentes, and we got my main man, Jason Sullivan. First and foremost, before we get into golf, I got to say, Jason, Mr. Jax's birthday is this weekend. So could you give Jax a Fairway to Heaven happy birthday from Steven, from me, from all the fans of this show? Make sure Jax knows the star of the show needs a very happy birthday.
He's still talking about that podcast that he did with us for the draft, so he's it's gone to his head a little bit. But no, I'll tell him for sure. He wanted to be on this week to talk to you guys, but yeah, we'll be on for sure. I was telling you, I texted you the other day. I'm like, "What do you want for your birthday?" He's like, "Jerseys." I'm like, "Who do you want for a jersey?" Saquon. I'm like, "Buddy, what about like Gibbs or somebody else?"
Nope. The Detroit Lions fan wants an Eagles jersey.
So I got him the Saquon
Take the dagger
jersey,
out of my heart,
a Saquon jersey, and a poster of him doing the backwards hurdle. That's what I've gotten him so far. So
that's not a proud dad moment for you, but a proud uncle moment for me and Steven right here,
Heck yeah. He can
tell him to come on the PGA. Lions. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we are live this week at the TRUIST Championship, another elevated event the week before the PGA Championship next week. Obviously, elevated field, no cut event right here in our home backyard. Philadelphia, at the Philadelphia Cricket Club, one of the oldest golf courses and country clubs in all of America, playing the Wissahickon course, which has been around since the 20s. Before we break into this week's event too much, I do want to talk about, the fact that we have to kind of tweak, even for an elevated event, how we do research this week, right, Jason? Because this is a course we don't know a lot about. This is not because Quail Hollow, which is where this tournament's always held. Quail Hollow hosts a PGA Championship next week, so they don't have that back-to-back at the same course kind of thing. So we are going blind this week, right, Jason?
It's kind of fun though, in a way. I kind of like it. It's like it's funny too because I don't know about you guys, but I've listened to a lot of shows, probably more than I usually listen to, and so many people think they have it like pinned down, and there's so many contradictory points out there right now. So it's interesting to see like kind of who you trust this week, and like obviously you're reading as much as you can and listening to as much as you can this week. But it's definitely a unique test, but it's fun. I like it.
See, I think what you do, and Steven, I don't know if you agree with this or not, I'm listening to less this week because when there is no unknowns, I've read the basics. What kind of hazards this course has? What's the distance of the holes? That's it. I'm sticking to the basics. I'm sticking to tee to green, around the green, shots gained total, shots gained off the tee. I'm sticking to the basic stats this week and hoping that works, Steven.
I'm doing the same. I've actually done a lot more reading than listening or watching of any shows of anything. I have been locked in on, like you said, the reading about the bunkers. That's been the consistent thing about everything. How fast these greens are. What type of golf, this is a second shot golf course. Those are like you said, the same things that you see that everyone writing about, because you're not going to know really much I kind of like what Jason said. I'm excited to go in blindly with this because this is the elite of elite golfers. So they should be able to put on a show.
Yeah. Josh says he'll be there tomorrow. Josh, send me a message, later tomorrow. Let me know what you see, and maybe we can do some conversing about that because I'd love to know what you get. And I know Steven said he'll be there on Sunday.
It's funny too, though. Like, kind of to piggyback off Steve's point, like we know the greens, we think, but like there's reports that it's listed on the site on the website as 11.5 on the stimp, which is not overly fast. But then you hear everybody else talking about it, saying it's going to be like lightning fast. So it's strange.
It's good, and that's the thing. And Jason, and that's what I tried to tease Steven up with there. I'm just going basic, sticking to the core fundamentals of what makes a good golfer. Tee to green guy, ball striker guy, guys. I mean, obviously, I read somewhere, and I didn't confirm this. I read somewhere 118 bunkers, that this will be the most bunkers on a course on tour this year. So obviously, you want good scramblers around the green play, but you also, there's fairway bunkers, there's bunkers everywhere. It's really the only defense of this course is the bunkers, and it's going to rain Thursday into Friday. Being in Philadelphia, I know the weather forecast for this week, coming up, and it's going to be cool on Friday. So, it can get potentially very soft and very easy on Saturday and Sunday, which will obviously play a factor. So I'm just looking for the best of the best. Who's playing the best recent form right now? And that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. I think, especially with so much unknown, I mean, there's different theories that are coming out right now, like with the distance being, so crucial because the fairways are actually wider the longer you go away from the tee. So that's what.
Dan, you're saying distance matters, and I've read plenty where distance does not matter because it's a 7,100 yard course. You got a 122 yard par 3. Both par 5s seem to be reachable as long as you get it in the fairway and avoid the bunkers on the par 5s. So like it's so confusing. We've dealt with this before when you have unknowns at a golf course.
It's kind of misleading though because the par 4s are so short. That's part of what makes the course long, different. But a lot of the times in the landing areas, there's bunkers. So the strategy that I'm kind of going with is distance because if you can drive past the bunkers or over the top of them, you're going to have easier landing areas.
Or if you lay up, if you can drive the ball further, obviously your irons go further. Like everything correlates together on distance there. So I get that, and I think it's interesting. Go ahead, Steven.
And I think distance matters if you're super accurate. Because if you're super accurate, you're completely avoiding those fairway bunkers because from what I'm reading, they're about 280 to 300 yards, from the tee. So if you can carry 290 and you're hitting it fairway, you don't even have to worry about those bunkers. Now you're just worried about the bunkers around the green. So I think that's when distance really matters. But if you just have a guy, let's say like Henley, who's second shot guy, super accurate with all of his irons, not long. That's where it's like, well, distance, you don't even think about it on a course like this. It might be a disadvantage for some too, who play long.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, flying blind into an event like this and kind of, figuring out. I think this is where, I don't want to call us the touts, out there, we're just three idiots sitting here every Tuesday night talking golf, but it's really interesting, really interesting to see who comes away getting their information right this week versus not.
That's the thing, which is a good point by you, like knowing who to trust and what information you listen to.
Don't trust me. That all I can recommend is I'm going to give you my opinion, but don't trust me.
Having people on the ground, though, is huge. Having a connection of knowing who's going to be there, especially for tomorrow, I think that's when we'll start to hear a lot more of consistent reporting on what this plays
really look like. How's the rough really looking and stuff like that. I agree with you on that 110%. So let's get into it. Obviously, it's an elevated field. It's one of the no-cut elevated fields versus the cut events that they've done, 72 golfers. No Scottie Scheffler, which I want to touch on that a second. Jason Day withdrew. Billy Horschel and Tom Kim are not in this field. So there are a couple guys that aren't playing this week. Real quick, no Scottie Scheffler this week, choosing to play last week at the CJ Cup versus this week and taking this week off before the PGA Championship next week. Scottie Scheffler shot 31 under par last week. I have no words that can describe what I watched from Scottie Scheffler last week, Jason.
It was over. By the time he took his last shot on Thursday, that tournament was over. Like, which is so weird. It's like, I know we talk about like Scottie having like a down year or whatever, but like he's still been damn good, and he still just shows like if his game is on, he's still the best player in the world.
He is definitely. I mean, I just can't imagine the feeling of the guys that shot 22, 23 under, and were 9 strokes back of the lead, Steven. Like, I mean, that's the most dominant performance I've ever seen in the last 20 years as a golfer.
And like EVR and Spieth had great Sundays, and it was like for what? For nothing.
Yeah.
And he even fought through the elements of a 6-hour rain delay, right? And then I think it was like the second hole coming back from that eagle. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is exactly what I thought.
Even on Sunday, he has an 8-stroke lead. He's still going for eagles and birdies. Like, there was no playing it cautious with Scottie Scheffler last week. And it was just a special thing. I will say this though. All right, I got an interesting little stat here I wrote down that I saw this week. Actually, I think I saw it today. Scottie Scheffler has a 10% win percentage in his PGA Tour career. Okay, he's played like a little over 100 events. He's won 11 times. He's won 10% of the events. Do you realize that's not 3, 4, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 7th all time. Can you guys name the golfers ahead of him in winning percentage of their career?
Tiger, obviously.
Tiger is number 1. He won 21.7% of the events he teed off in. That's just like we're talking almost 12% more wins than Scottie Scheffler.
10 guys?
There's 7 guys ahead of him.
7 guys.
Jack.
One name you won't believe isn't ahead of him, but go ahead.
Jack.
Jack is ahead. Jack is ahead of him, but barely. Jack only won 12.5% of his events.
Only.
Yeah, only 12 and a half. Steven, any guesses here that won more than him?
I'm trying to think of. Yeah, well, I was gonna say Arnold.
No, Arnold Palmer is the shocking one that is not at a higher win percentage. He won less than 9% of his events. 8.8% of the events he teed off on. I'll give you the list. Tiger was 21.7. Ben Hogan was 21.3. Byron Nelson was 18.1. Slam and Sammy Snead was 14. Jack 12.5. And Rory had a higher winning percentage. He's got an 11% winning percentage.
Problem is with the Snead and Ben Hogan, it's like they probably only had 10 events then. So
you're making excuses.
No. I'm saying it was probably easier to win.
Scottie Scheffler's skipping an elevated event, so he's taking the easy route. He went and won the CJ Cup versus this event, so he's taking the easier route.
Which is smart on his point. Like, he doesn't really play in this part of the country. I was going to say the world, but the country.
I mean, I don't think Scottie could handle the heckling from the Philly crowd. There'll be a lot. There would have been a lot of jailbird shirts if Scottie was teeing it off this week, right?
That would have been great. I didn't even think of that. That the heckling's. Oh my gosh.
Heckling. Well, I have one other thing I want to discuss about Elevate events, but we'll save it for the end of the show. But let's look at this week's field. Let's look at this week's event. Obviously, the top 4 golfers on the DraftKings board: Rory McIlroy at 12K, Colin Morikawa at 10.5, Xander Schauffele 10.2, and Justin Thomas 10K even. They're your top guys. Obviously, with Scottie not in the field, Rory is the hands-down favorite. I think he's like 4.5 to 1, 5.5 to 1 to win, depending on which sportsbook you're looking at. So we normally have the conversation events like this to play Scottie or not. Rory McIlroy's on fire this year, playing phenomenal golf. Jason, we'll start with you. Do you play Rory or do you don't play Rory this week?
I think it's easy to say that you do play Rory, but I'm going to give you the other side.
Okay.
Here's the reasons why I'm not playing him. I think distance is his biggest what's the word? Like he gets away from everybody else in distance. Advantage. Yeah, exactly. He gets away from the rest of the field with his distance. However, he's not the best wedge player in the world. He's 39th in the field from 75 to 100 and 51st in the field from 100 to 125. He also isn't the best putter in the world, which I think you're going to have to be able to putt pretty well this week. So his price is probably not high enough. I feel like his price should probably be about 13 this week to make it tougher. But at the same time, I feel like coming from, the streak that he's been on in a course
Well, he's won 3 of his last 6 events.
Yeah, to a course that really doesn't like let him separate from the field as much as you'd like to see. I'm going to actually probably not play him this week.
I like that philosophy because the way you're mapping it out by not being able to separate himself this week. I mean, I'm off of Rory this week. I just think that, his goal is next week, the PGA Championship. And while that doesn't always matter, I don't know if, like you said, there's enough of a difference on this course between him and hell, the guys even in the 9K. Is there that much of a difference between Rory on this course, Steven, to Patrick Cantlay or Ludwig Oberg or Jordan Spieth, who's been playing well? Is there really that much of a difference? And I would say the answer is no.
No, and Jason pretty much took the words right out of my mouth in my notes here. I said, his true advantage isn't even in play this week, so and not that I don't think he's going to go out and try and win this. Yeah. I just don't think he's going to be too pressed on winning this, knowing he has 4 rounds. I honestly think he is going to be fine-tuning things for next week on a course that he won this tournament at last year, and I think
he's won Quail Hollow 4 times. I've already started my Quail Hollow notes for next week. He's won here 4 times in his career.
I already placed a bet on him, for it next week. So I think that's his mindset now is he's playing so free, and his mindset isn't, I need to go out and win these signature events or anymore. His mindset is majors, and that's it right now. So
based off of that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, to basically say the same thing. I feel like this is a week where you could see the crappy start. Like he did a couple, I forget what event that was, where he started really bad the first day. He was in like 49th place, and then he finished 2nd. It's like I could easily see that being what he did. I could see a slow start this week from Rory coming off
Houston Open.
Coming off the Masters. Obviously, I could see a slow start, and then he comes back and backdoors like a 6th or 8th place or something like that.
Yeah, I could see that. Steven, so if you're not playing Rory this week, the other guys at the top of the board, Colin, JT, and Xander, do you have a favorite? Are you skipping the 10K range altogether? What are you going to do with this range here? Because I think there's an argument to be made to play and fade all these guys in the 10K range and above in this field.
And that's pretty much what I'm doing. The only person that I would play is Colin. I just think his game is kind of set up for this, minus the putting. The putting would be the only thing that scares me. But I think if you're given an automatic 4 rounds, you can go out there and have, especially someone like himself with his wedge play, can have 2 spikes of solid, Friday and Saturday and be in contention in there on Sunday. But I love the 9K range, and that's where for a lot of my lineups, I'm skipping right to there.
Jason, any other thoughts on those other 3 guys in the upper range? I'm kind of eyeing up Xander because I feel like this is a great tune-up opportunity for him. He's now, 4 events since he got injured and stuff like that, or 4 events back since his injury. A good place for him to work on his iron game to get ready for another major. I kind of feel like this is a range or a course where he can continue to tweak things, but also contend at.
He's also been pretty damn good, except for his short game. Like, we just haven't seen the short game coming around, which he's normally an amazing putter. So I think that
the short game in putting is what comes around last when somebody's injured for a long time, right?
Happened to Scottie. I mean, we saw it happen to Scottie earlier this season. I like Xander too. I think he's mispriced. I think they're putting too much stock into the injury, but he appears to be healthy. I was looking at his ball speed the other day. Like, his ball speed is just the same exact as what it was before. So like that shows me that he's healthy. He's not, hurting in any sort of way. So Xander's definitely my favorite. I'm not going to play a lot over 10K either because I agree that the 9Ks are loaded.
Yeah,
but Xander,
I think, like I said, I've made the case just like you, Jason, on Xander. You can also say any of these guys are trying to win next week. That thing. JT's been playing phenomenally. Again, this is one of those events you're looking for DFS purposes, not betting purposes, but DFS guys that could spike 2 or 3 really low rounds. Because you want 2 or 3 guys that could shoot 65 2 or 3 times. And I kind of feel like in this upper range, if you're avoiding Rory, I think JT and Xander are the 2 guys that could do that. I don't think Colin, this is no knock. He's a great golfer. I don't know if he's got 365s in him ever in a round, in a tournament.
Did you guys hear
new caddy?
Yeah, did you guys hear about the caddy? The whole caddy thing? It sounded like him and his old caddy hated each other.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of caddy bouncing around this year on the PGA Tour.
Sounds like Colin's not also like the most easiest guy to get along with from what I hear a lot of people. And I kind of watch a little bit of that full swing and stuff, and you kind of just get these like weird vibes that like you could tell who's liked and who's not liked from the guys on tour.
Yeah. You could even tell that in the first season when I think he was sitting down with Adidas, right? And he was like being such an ass about like his pants. You're like, this guy's a dick. Like,
yeah.
All right. So then you guys both say you love the 9K range. Obviously, Oberg is the top of the 9K range, going down to back in the winner's circle this year. Victor Hovland. There's a lot of high quality. Every name in this range is high quality. Obviously, Jordan Spieth had a great week last week. Just not enough to compete with Scottie Scheffler. Where are we going in this range, Jason? And what do you like the best?
Let's let Steve go first because he likes this range a lot.
I thought you both said you liked it, but okay.
Well,
Steven,
I like it too. But
Steven, you go first. I asked the questions. Jason changes the. I say the answers. Jason changes the questions.
Sorry.
However that saying goes.
Well, the one person who I don't like in this range is Oberg for the same exact reasons that I don't want to play Rory. You know, one of his biggest advantages is kind of taken away here, and I think he's another guy who sometimes misjudges his clubs and will play a club up when he should club down, really. But pretty much from Henley down, I don't see an issue with any of those guys. Fleetwood, if this course gets messy because of the elements, is a northeastern course. What better fit for a guy like him? Henley, I talked about him before for all those same reasons. A short course, short irons, long irons, wedge, and the putter. Especially on par fours. I know he's up there. I think I wrote it down. He's T4 in par four scoring so far in 2025, and there's 12 of them on this course. So he's big for me in the 9K range.
Okay. Jason,
I'm gonna make the pro Oberg argument here.
Okay, I'm off on Oberg. I something about him at not the Masters. When was the Masters? When he just couldn't make his putting numbers just don't, and around the green numbers don't look good enough, even though that's something that he does thrive at. So I'm off on my favorite guy, and I want to know why.
I do like him on the lightning fast greens. He's good on that. Second in the field off the tee, fifth in distance. More importantly than that, he's number one in the field in 75 to 100 yard proximity. Like, he's a great wedge player. So I like him on a course like this. I think I get Steve's point about the not knowing kind of like his own strength sometimes. Like, he doesn't know. He's not good at deciding if he's going to club down or not. But I could see him in a week like this where if it plays tough, I like him. If it plays easy, I like him too. So I think because of his wedge game being so strong and being so good off the tee, I'm going to play Oberg. I like Cantley too, though.
Yeah, I like Cantley too. My problem this week is that from Victor Hovland on up, there's no pivots. Right now, early on Tuesday, all ownership is kind of just level. Fine. Everybody's in that 18 to 22%. So it's like, who's going to spike up and who's going to spike down? Right. Because you got to find, like, I expected a huge spike up for Jordan Spieth after last week. And I was doing research. Jordan Spieth has actually played really good golf this year outside of the miscut at Genesis and the Players Championship, where he barely cracked the top 60. But he's had 5 straight events inside the top 30, 4 straight events inside the top 20. So Jordan Spieth is actually playing really good golf right now, but yet his ownership is still just level. So it's almost like you kind of got to wait till Wednesday night. Like, I like to get my lineups done Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, but you kind of got to wait, don't you, Jason?
You know what's weird with Spieth, to kind of piggyback on? I think you do have to wait, yes. But with Spieth, it's like he's kind of changed the way that he played. Like, he used to be the good approach guy that, would get hot with the putter. Like, I think he's like 11th in the field in off the tee. Like, it's weird. Like, you don't see a guy that gets a wrist injury come back and be better off the tee. You'd think that it would go the opposite way, but he's been good off the tee, and if he gets hot with the putter, he could win. And it's scary.
He's been hot with the punter. The only thing he hasn't been hot with lately is his scrambling. Yeah. And that's something he normally does do well. So
weird. He's changed the way he plays.
When I saw the odds and I saw 30-1 on Jordan Spieth, it was the first bet I made. Because I think he's been playing way too good golf. He's obviously won before. multi-time major champion, I thought Jordan Spieth 30-1 was the first easy click to make versus, and I'm not knocking Xander or JT, or I know you guys bet a lot of those guys at 16-1, 14, 18-1. I just thought Spieth at 30-1 provided better value than, say, a Xander at 16-1, who I think has equal chances of winning. That's how good Spieth has been playing right now. So I'm on the Spieth train. If all ownership stays leveled out, and Jordan Spieth right now is about 18.5%, 19%. If it all stays leveled out, Jordan Spieth will be my favorite play in this, basically from 9K and above.
So I like him too. Him and Hovland, for the value that they're at 9,100 and 9,200. Hovland, I bet him. I'm going to play him. I think I have him in almost every single one of my lineups. But Spieth, another guy too. If he sprays it, if for whatever reason there's a hole where he's not hitting it accurate off the tee, he's not going to really be penalized that much by it. But if he gets in the bunker around the greens, what better guy to be able to hit, a shot out of a bunker? So I think he's going to be able to be really, really comfortable on this course.
I think
Victor Hovland scares me with his around the green and scrambling.
But around the green doesn't matter as much here. Honestly, this is a pretty easy course around the green. So I think I was going to make the exact opposite point, which is funny. I actually like this course for Hovland a lot because of that. I think that he putts well on bent for whatever reason, and his around the green is not going to matter as much here. So I like that.
He's actually putted well, period. He's got 11.7 strokes gained putting in his last 3 events. Obviously, one of them was the Valspar where he won and gained over 7 strokes. But, I was just double checking because he wasn't on my card. I was just curious how he's done since his victory, and he's had a 21st and 16th. So he's playing well. We got to pause this for a second. What is wrong with Philly, Rashad? Rashad, you might not realize this, but Philadelphia is rich in golf history, and Philadelphia is rich in golf courses. There are so many amazing public and private golf courses in Philadelphia. You probably don't even realize it.
This might be.
I've played 30 different golf courses around here, and they're all, even the cheap ones are exceptional.
This may be a major course at some point. I heard that's the goal of the members.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
They said, I read somewhere a senior U.S. Open or senior PGA Championship like a decade and a half ago was played here.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't. I read it was like 82 players in the field. I think 19 under Bernard Langer won the event, but it was too easy. So they made major course adjustments.
Yeah.
So that's how they got the Truist to hopefully then in turn be able to get a PGA or U.S. Open here. Go ahead, Steven.
Yeah. And the one cool thing about this, not to get too sidetracked, any ticket you can bring a 15 or younger accompanied with any ticket. So like when it comes to bringing on families and stuff like that, 2 tickets or 2 buddies who have 2 kids, under 15 and younger, what better event than to bring the up and coming generation of golf for free?
That's fantastic.
To Rashad's point right there, that podcast was one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to. His interview with, you guys should both listen to it, with Mayo had him on Monday, I believe it was, or over the weekend. That was he played the whatever the Open was there, the Pennsylvania Open was there, and he has really good insight on the course.
Excellent. I'll have to check that out after the show. All right, let's get into the 8K range here. Obviously, a lot of good names, a lot of popular names. I know everybody's talking Corey Connors this week, Daniel Berger, number 1 in my model this week. Already got a future bet on him next week. You got Keegan Bradley hosting a pretty big dinner tonight, down here in Philly somewhere. But I'm looking at first in the 8K range, the first opportunity to pivot to a low-owned guy, and that's Hideki Matsuyama. And Hideki, to me, is an interesting character because everybody's overlooking him.
Yep.
But his short game is great. His around the green is scrambling. All that stuff's great. Tee to green, phenomenal. And right now, it's early still, he's at 8.2% calculated ownership percentage. Actual lineup generators, only 2.9% right now on fantasynational.com. Hideki Matsuyama is too good to be a sub 10% owned guy if his price is in the 8Ks. That's just my opinion, Jason.
You're 100% right. So I bet on him this week. Spoiler alert.
What was his odds?
I think it was
because I left about $10 in my budget to add one more player.
35 to 1.
45.
35.
Oh, 35.
35.
Still not bad. I might have to add that later.
So his approach game hasn't been as good as we've seen recently. It's been a little bit down for the past, but his game fits his course perfectly. He's good. He loves bent grass. He's really good from 75 to 100 yards. He putts his putting's actually been pretty good from both 5 to 10 and 10 to 15 lately. So I like that play a lot. The other one that I was surprised his ownership was so low is Lowry. Like this just seems like a course, especially if the weather's crappy, that fits perfectly for Lowry. Like I get the Connor stuff; he's been awesome. Like I mean, he's been so good, but Lowry's been awesome too. And I just feel like the crappier the weather, the more I want to play Lowry.
Yeah. So if you want to talk weather, so I got the weather forecast here. Thursday, rain, 74 is the high. Friday, rain. The most of the rain's on Friday. 60 degrees only the high. Saturday, dry, 71. Sunday is going to be the scoring day because it's 79 and sunny and no rain in the forecast on Sunday. So we're pushing 80 on Sunday. That's going to be the premier scoring time frame right there, in my opinion. I love what you said about Lowry. I like all these guys in this 8K range more than Corey Connors, who's getting the most talked about right now. I just don't see enough. I don't want to use the word win equity because I would never bet Corey Connors to win. Enough love for Connors to be a 22. He might go down as one of, if not the second highest owned guy this week in DFS, in GPPs. And I don't think Corey Connors is good enough. No offense to the guy in an elevated field to be the second highest owned guy in the field.
This is where he kind of stands out, though. I feel like he's always good in these tough fields, which is weird.
I don't. But what does he really? Does he really return your investment in these tough fields?
In the Masters, he does.
Most of the time.
And that's
Go ahead,
why
Steven.
I bet him. I'm not really going to play him that much in lineups just because I want to go with a lot of guys in the 9K range. But for the same reason what Jason said, in these high elevated courses, I just feel like this season he's shown that he can be up there and compete. And it's a northeastern course, and so these Canadian guys, they like it up here. It's getting closer and closer to home. So betting purposes.
I want to throw another name to you guys because it's a name I've been thinking about. We'll just say he's in the maybe list right now. Hasn't missed a cut in the last 6 events. Got a couple top 15s, top 20s this year. So off the tee game is great. His around the green is great. Game is great. And just like Hideki, his ownership is projected very low. His approach games have been pretty bad this year. And that's Sung Jae Im. But he hasn't missed a cut in a while. He had a first place finish a couple events ago. And it's another name that's just sitting there in that maybe column for me that I kind of feel like in a no-cut event, what harm is there taking a risk on Sung Jae Im this week?
I just feel like his approach game has been so bad.
It's been really bad.
I feel like he's getting there, if that makes sense. Like he's getting to the point where like he's almost the old Sanjay again, but his approach game just scares me too much. I feel like in a loaded field like this, I just can't trust him. I feel like there's better options.
I mean, I'm just looking at this. So like he lost 3.5 strokes and 6.5 strokes and almost 3, then 2.5. Then 2 of his last 3 events, it's only been 0.2, 0.5 strokes lost, on approach. So maybe his approach game is turning the corner. Maybe we're almost at that at least even level with his approach game. If he hits 0 on the shots gained approach, and then he does everything else well, then I kind of feel like Sung Jae Im is a good value play. If you're playing a bunch of guys that are 20%, you got to find some place to get different. And I think in the 8K with Hideki or Sung Jae is how you get different.
I think the price is too high. That's another thing.
I think that might be a fair one there. Any other names we missed here in this range?
I would go right below Sanjay for a pivot and go with Mav McNeely. Third at the Heritage, third at Valero, second at the Genesis, which was another, elevated event. So our signature event. So I think he's another guy where if you're going to give him 4 rounds, he can go out there and compete with some of the elite up there.
The thing with Mav, I think, I was thinking about him too. So I've kind of deep dove him a little bit. If it depends on how you think the course is going to play. I think a big thing with Mav. If you think it's going to be at the beginning of the week, people were saying it was going to be like 5 under was going to be the winner. Now people are saying it's going to be like 15 to 20. If it's 15 to 20, I think Mav's a play.
Yeah.
If it's 5 under, Im's the play. If it's 20 under, it's Mav. And I think that's
100%.
really where we got to figure out is how this weather's going to shake out. people like Josh saying they'll be there tomorrow, what they have to say about the course. I think this is the perfect week to do what we don't do, Steven. And no offense, I know you said you already built most of your lineups. This is the perfect week for us to wait till Wednesday night to make our lineups and read more from the course from tomorrow before we start really building lineups going forward.
Trust me, I never said it and forget it. I love to make a change like 10 seconds before.
No. No. You can't be changing it. That's when things backfire. All right, 7K range. Lots of names here, obviously. Loaded group here at 7K. Wyndham Clark starts it off. 7,900. Sam Burns finally got a price decrease. Andrew Novak, my man, Mr. Aaron Rise in this range. Lots of names. Bate at the bottom of it. Michael Kim at the bottom of it. Steven, what do you think of this 7K range? Where do you seem to be letting your eyes go the most?
Straight to Brian Harmon is where I go in this range. I love Brian Harmon on courses where strong wedge play, short courses, where you need to be accurate. And he's no pun intended, he's a Georgia Bulldog, but he is a dog in these sort of elevated events. So
is he a Georgia Bulldog?
Yeah.
Is he really? Yeah. I mean, then he's at home in Philly with all the Georgia Bulldogs in Philly. You know what? Writing that one down. That's a bet for that reason.
Straight to Brian. I don't know why that.
Even besides him, this is a range where I like to go to the guys who are shorter off the tee and who are elite with their irons and putters. Harmon, Rye, Spawn, those guys instantly attract my attention in the 7K range.
Absolutely. Jason, what do you got here in this range? Because it's honestly really weird. As much as all the ownership is grouped together in that 18 to 20% range in the upper part of the board, the 7K range is completely bunched together in that 7.5 to 10% range. Everybody's spreading out so far across all these ranges.
I like Wyndham Clark. Just a classic distance and wedge player. I feel like it's just a matter of, can he stay out of trouble? I think that's the biggest thing. Like, he hasn't been as good as he's been recently. He's been not playing his best golf, but I mean, you're talking an elite driver of the golf ball. Obviously not super accurate, but he's also number one in the field from 100 to 125. So I like Wyndham Clark probably the best. I agree with Steve. Rose is another good one. Those are my two favorites at the top.
The thing with Wyndham Clark that bothers me, if you go event by event with his shots gained data, like 1 week it's tee to green and off the tee that he's struggling at. The next week it's approach he's struggling at. The next week it's putting that he's struggling at.
A lot of this with him.
Yeah, it's like he's only had one event this year, and it was a 5th place event, the Houston Open, where he gained straight across the board. Every other event, he's made the cut. He hasn't missed a cut since the Amex back in early January. But he's never put, outside of one event, an entire weekend together. And that's the thing that concerns me about Wyndham Clark, because everything you say about Wyndham Clark makes sense, except when you think, what part of his game isn't going to be working this week? And that kind of scares me. I'm with, Steven. I'm on the Aaron Rise of the world. Maybe even Siwoo Kim even in this range here. When you're talking about, bunker play, scrambling, whatnot, you're talking about guys that got to get creative around a golf course like this where there's not a lot of information. And when we talk creative in the 7K range, the most, impressive creative 7K golfer is always Akshay Bhatia. And so I kind of like him this week as well. He'll be able to move the ball around these bunkers and figure out ways to make this work. And he's also a guy that can go 20 under if necessary.
What do you guys
kind of like Akshay Bhatia a little too?
I like Bhatia too. What do you guys think about Novak? It's been awesome.
Yeah, Andrew Novak has been fantastic. He's very top tier in my model this week. Great scrambler, great around the green, accurate off the tee, solid putter, won at the Zurich. So that information isn't even in his thing. But before the Zurich, he was second at RBC and third at Valero. I bet Novak at 75 to 1 to win this thing. I don't think Novak will win, but I think a guy that's finished second, third, and won the funky event, is great value at 75 to 1 right there.
His putting is just the question. I mean, like, the dude's so good tee to green. Just a matter of putting.
Where is he on here? Sorry.
That's how I am with Michael Kim.
He's the top pretty much ownership-wise in this range at about 10, 12% Andrew Novak. So, Yeah, which is not that hard to swallow that pill there. Any other names, Jason, we missed in this range?
No, I think Bateo was my other one. So no,
Okay.
I think I'm good.
6K range, lots of names in 6K, and I mean it's an elevated event. You can make a case for plenty of guys in the 6K range. Obviously, I originally starred Harris English because again there was talk about 5, 6, 7 under. Weather was going to affect it. Now we're getting towards that double digits kind of thing. So Harris English is coming off my board, but there's some interesting names still down here.
I still think Harris English is a good play.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't come off my board. I just haven't done anything with him yet.
He's Harry English. He's Harry English right now on his board. He's not fully on as Harris, right? No, I like him because even if this goes to like 12 to 15 under, I still like his chances of being there.
Jason, where are you at here?
It sucks because both the guys that I like are chalk, I think. Eric Cole and Hoagie, kind of for the same exact reasons. They've both been their approach game has been so good. Hoagie's been awesome recently. Actually, Cole's been pretty damn good too. But they're just approach and putters. But I think they're both going to be super chalky. That's the crappy part.
I mean, anything double digits in the 6K is kind of chalky, right?
True. Good point.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
I have a question for you about a guy, Alex Noren. I'm pretty sure this is his first start coming back from all those injuries that he had. And I mean, what better of a setup if this course is set up the way and designed the way that we're reading and everything. I mean, he's not long off the tee and he's kind of, last time we saw him, had a pretty overall average game besides the distance. If you're giving a guy 4 rounds at 6,200, is it that bad of a play if you want to go get Rory?
First time back though.
All right, so first time
rounds,
back.
He tore his glute also, which I don't know if you guys have ever. I was punting with Jackson at the football field last year, and I think I pulled my glute, and I almost threw up. So
you probably didn't even know you had a glute.
I can't imagine how
you didn't stretch or anything.
No, oh god, I almost threw up. So I can imagine.
All right, I'm going to throw a couple names out here, but before I do that, I want to throw one other name because again, no cut event. Sometimes you got to take chances. 3% ownership in this range. Has only had 2 events that he's had. He's even made the cut this year. That was the Masters, and then the next one, which you
can already tell this is going to be insane. I can already tell.
You know, I love Max Homa. I've had 3 of my 20 outrights have been Max Homa wins.
I thought it too.
I want Max Homa to win. I want to get.
I thought it too. I thought it too. I just can't bring myself.
I mean, if he's not missing the cut, but the last elevated non-cut event,
he's not missing the cut.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Hold on. The last event that was a no-cut event that he played in, what was it? Was it the Pro-Am or the Century? No, well, the Century's no cut. I forget. There was an event.
Was the Arnold Palmer one? Was the Arnold Palmer cut?
He had like 3 really bad rounds, but had a 65 one round or something like that. So Max Homa is one of those guys that he's going to get you some points once or twice. Anyway, I'm going to throw some names. I do agree. Tom Hoagie is a good play. Nick Taylor, interesting little guy there at 6,500 as well. And here's one. Short course. Very short course. This is his chance to shine for the second time on tour this year. Not going to win the event. But I could easily see with a top 20, top 25 in this event, which is all you need. I know since his win, he's missed 4 cuts. But Brian Campbell this week.
Top
3% ownership, 6K flat. You could probably get 2 10K guys in there with Brian Campbell. Who says no?
I like how
raise your hand if you say no to Brian Campbell.
No,
majority wins on Brian Campbell here.
Yeah, I played him earlier this year too on an actual. I forget what it was, but his home course, at Hilton Head, or was it? Yeah, that's where he's from, right? Yeah,
it was a birdie fest. So I guess it depends on how you view the course. If it's,
let me just throw this at you. I just did it on the DraftKings board. You take Brian Campbell with JT and Xander. You almost have 8K left for your last 3 spots, 79-33.
Phil's picking Brian Campbell in the contest for sure.
Maybe. I mean, if not in the contest, in something else, I'm just saying. I mean, you're telling me, Jason, you would not be comfortable with having JT, Xander, and Brian Campbell in your lineup?
I guess it depends. Is it going to be 20 under? Is it going to be 18 under? Then yes.
I'm just saying. There's room for that to happen. I think it's a viable option if you want to play a bunch of guys. Hold on, let me try something else here because we're pretty much done. Let me put Brian Campbell with say
do
three
Rory
Randy
and probably
9K.
a low 9K guy.
Yeah, I'm saying how about
Campbell?
Say you take Spieth, Hovland, and Fleetwood, 3 9K guys, and Brian Campbell. Spieth, Hovland, Fleetwood, and Brian Campbell. You still got 8,200 left in the bank.
Wow, you still go get my guy Harmon.
You have
right
no.
You get a lot of guys.
You have 0 win equity, but you have a lot of 8,000 left.
I'm just telling you.
On these sort of weeks, I say sometimes that's all it is just getting the right guys. You get enough guys in the top 20. Who cares if you pick the top 2 guys? Really?
Just saying.
Hell, this last week with you,
I'm trying to get creative here.
Jason only won because he had Scottie. I had more guys in my lineup than all you by the weekend, and because he had Scottie, that. So
anyway, all right. Let's see where we're at here. We've got now another week. Jason obviously won again. He's now on like a 14 straight week winning streak here. Oh, well, let me back up here. So last week it was 3-5, 3-1, 2-1. So none of us really did very well in the one and dones this past week. We all made money, but nobody really gained ground. But Jason won again in the DFS contest. He's up to 6 with my 5. Steven's still down there at 3. Elise, we're gonna have to get another guest on sometime in the next couple weeks because we got to give the guests a chance to catch up. But that's where we stand. So Jason, you won again. What's the order? The picking order here?
It's gonna go Phil, Steve, me.
Phil, Steve.
This is why I'm stuck at 3.
You know what? I love picking in the 3 spot. I just wrote Phil, Steve, and you said Phil, Steve, and me. I wrote down Phil, Steve, and me.
Yeah, you're picking first. Yeah,
Yeah, but I wrote down me because you said me. So it's like an Abbott and Costello routine here on this show today. All right, Phil, Steve, and Jason.
All right.
So that means I go first. I'm going to take Brian. No, I'm just kidding about Brian Campbell. That is not my first pick. But I might use him. I might.
First place I go.
I got to save that for a GPP. I'm going to start off with Xander Schauffele.
Oh, you fucker.
You know what? Venmo me $5 right now, and I'll change my pick.
All right. I'm just
I'm gonna go.
Brian Harmon.
Henley.
You better take Harmon with your next pick, or I'm taking.
I'm gonna go. Shit, I'm not prepared at all. I'm gonna go. Aberg is gonna be my first one.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go. Batea as my second one.
You did that.
All right, Steven, you're back on the board.
Harmon.
What did Steven just say?
Harmon.
Did you really take Harmon there? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I really
pick
was
everyone that starts with an H.
I egged you on to taking him there because I really didn't want him. So
That's your first mistake.
Let's see here. We'll go Spieth, and we're gonna do. No, we can't do that.
You put a lot of in that one.
Yeah. Thanks, I appreciate that.
A little extra spit behind that
Spieth and Novak right now. They're my 2 picks. Spieth and Novak.
All right.
I keep thinking
I'm gonna go
when Steve combined Sahith and success into one word.
Yeah. And it didn't happen because I don't know if you looked at it. He's in the 6K range this week. So he is I'm gonna go Hovland.
What did I do here? Who did Phil pick?
I went with Spieth and Novak.
Spieth and Novak, okay. And Steven went Hovland, and who was your pick before that? Harmon, right?
Harmon.
Dude, are you paying attention at all?
No, I got so excited about everything.
You get excited very easily, don't you?
You got excited about Akshay.
I'm gonna go Cantlay. Okay. And then I'm gonna go Wyndham.
I am going to go with Michael Kim.
We didn't talk about him, but I do like that play. He's on my maybe playlist. So I do like that.
Steven mentioned him earlier.
Oh, I didn't hear him.
Yeah,
say
I just
it.
said his name. Yeah, I just said his name. That was a
Gotcha. I didn't hear it. All right, so that puts me on the board. I'm going to go Lucas Glover with my first pick.
The glove. Like it.
And I think I'll go Aaron Rye. We'll take Rye guy.
Shocking.
We'll go Rye guy here.
all right. That's a shame. Day pulled out. I thought he could have done pretty well this week.
First time he's pulled out in his whole life. Sorry.
I'm gonna go Lowry.
Oh, it's a good thing I clicked the not for children part of the back office side of YouTube on that comment. Oh my god.
All right. I'm gonna go for my last two picks. I'm gonna go Hoagie and Hideki.
Like the Hideki right there. Good job. Good job. Steven, last pick. Well,
all right. Let
did I
me
miss one of your picks here?
with.
I think I did
write one of
too.
I only got
I
4
Henley.
down for him right now.
I got Henley, Harmon, Hovland, Michael Kim, and Lowry so far.
It's only 5 picks.
Well, he's picking.
Yeah, this is number 6. This will be 6.
Oh, I thought Lowry was just your pick just now.
No,
We are totally off the walls here today,
No.
guys.
Oh shit.
I'm gonna go. I don't like you usually leaving this much on the board, but I'm gonna go with Justin Rose.
Justin Rose.
We got 900 left over.
It's a lot left over, but it could work.
I know.
All right, I was gonna go with Lowry, but I didn't realize you took him already. So, I'm gonna go Sung JM. That's more of a gut feel kind of play than anything else. But I'm gonna go for it with Sung J this week. There we go on that one.
Speaking
all
of
right,
gut feels, mine last week finally stopped being a gut feel. Grillo.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
No more Emiliano Grillo just because his name is cool and fun to say. All right.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. All right, so one and dones. Where are we at with one and dones?
God, I'm so bad at one and done.
Yeah, this is interesting. Oh, the Napster did not. I was so pissed off at the Napster. He actually played good outside of round 1.
Too.
Yeah,
the Napster.
He'll always be the Napster to me. So who's going first on one? Who wants to name their one and done first?
Me, because I'm horrible at this. I'm gonna go Aberg.
Aberg. Okay, you haven't used Aberg yet, man. I used him like. Actually, I haven't used him yet. I thought I already used him. I'm gonna write his name down off to the side for a later event.
You probably
thought he was already done.
If I pick him in DFS or one and done, you're probably gonna want to fade him in DFS. Just to let you know.
All right, who you going with, Steven?
I am gonna go with Brian Harmon.
Oh, there you go. And I'm going with Jordan Spieth this week. Jordan Spieth.
I knew you were, and that's why I didn't want to say it. I had a feeling.
You didn't want me to dupe you again this week?
Nope, not again. Nap pissed me off last week. What a waste of a dupe.
We got about 5 minutes left here, and real quick, I want to cover something else here, golf wise, real quick with you guys. Obviously, it's an elevated event. Obviously, it's a no cut event. We didn't talk about him. Is he even in the field? Hold on, I don't even know if he's in the field this week.
He is, I think. EVR.
He is. Okay, yeah, he is. He's
at the bottom. Yeah.
Number 1 in the 200 plus proximity this week in the field. Didn't even realize that. But Eric Van Rooyen was quoted this week and was asked about elevated events and whether they're good or bad for the PGA Tour, the growth of the game of golf, etc. And his first line in this interview was, "How honest do you want me to be?" And then he followed it up with, "I hate it," laughing. I strongly believe that the strongest fields are the ones with the most players in them. And I'm just going to pick and choose some of the comments from his quote here. Wyndham, he was 125th in the world. Then he wins his major, and now look at him. Rory says he wants the tour to be more cutthroat. Well, this is the most cutthroat sport there is. You're cut, you're gone, you're not making money. Basically talking, about how non-elevated events are more important and better than these elevated no-cut events. And Steven, I'd love to start with you and get your thoughts, because I actually kind of enjoyed hearing that honesty from Eric Van Rooyen, EVR there, and some of it makes sense to me.
And what I love about the honesty is this is such a game that is like you want to be a yes guy, you want to be a company guy in the PGA, I feel like, for the most part, and just keep your head down and go play golf, right? But being outspoken like that, it's only going to change for the better and get what I think is the Live Golf and PGA to come to some sort of terms about, on these signature events. We're at what? This is number 6 of 8. For these 8 events to have the Live guys come on, and then you can have a cut, and then you're getting a different level of competition. You're seeing the Live guys a lot more, because how great would this be again to be able to have the Live guys this week and next week at the PGA Championship? So it would just bring a different viewer. It would elevate the field. It would have a cut. It would bring purpose to someone like who I said Rory is kind of, I feel like, more pressed and fine-tuning his game for next week. He would maybe want to be a little bit more pressed and fine-tuned to win this week. Instead of, he's just like, well, I got 4 rounds and it is what it is. But I think it's good for golf to have outspoken guys like that.
Yeah, I think it's good. We'll get back to Live. First off, you made a comment there that more eyes, get the, whatever. I mean, there's no eyes watching Live. I mean, I saw their ratings from this past weekend's event. I think 40,000 people is the average viewership for a Live event on Fox Sports. So nobody's watching Live right now, honestly, which is actually pretty sad to see. But Jason, thoughts?
Bryson won, right?
Yeah. Bryson won, yeah. Bryson was bombing the ball all over the course, and still people didn't tune in for Live. Nobody even saw it unless you're watching highlight clips on Twitter. Jason, thoughts on EVR's comments?
I think he's spot on. I think it's funny because the PGA Tour doesn't have a clue what the players think, doesn't have a clue what the fans think. It's so weird. It's like
that's a weird way to put it.
They're so
actually very accurate.
They're so out of touch with like what the players want, what the fans want. It's like they have no clue, and it's just like, what is leadership doing? Like we've talked about this a lot of times, but like it feels like it's getting worse. It feels like they're too stubborn to admit that there's a problem right now, but like you're killing your own sport. You're killing your own, like the guys like us that are like super into it are pissed off at the PGA Tour. The casual fan doesn't even care anymore about golf at this point. And it's like, and the players, you're seeing like, yeah, these elevated events are awesome if you're Rory, Scottie, if you're, these stud guys, Oberg, like it's like,
yeah, because does anybody outside the top 10 really have a real chance of winning this week?
You could look back at the elevated events, like the middle tier and lower tier guys don't win. So it's like
and this was not how I was going to counter your comment.
I wrote that down, Jason.
I wanted to say, but just think of it this way: you win a PGA Tour event, you get into other elevated events, right? Yeah. You win a PGA Tour event, you get your card, right? If you were saying Eric Van Rooyen, or I'm looking down a Brian Campbell, or a Cam Young, Gary Wood, I'm looking at all the names at the bottom of the board. Would you rather play this elevated event? Yeah, you're going to get a guaranteed paycheck, or play the alternate event this week at the Myrtle Beach, where you have a better chance of winning it, which secures your card for how long? Which secures you into other elevated events.
2 years, yeah.
So it almost is countering that right there, because you want the money, but not. I was going to say, I want to counter Steven's point. Steven says the Live guys should be in this event. You want to bring the game of golf together. What you should do is where you make it that either A, you make it top 100 instead of top 50 or 70, whatever it is in these elevated events, and then put that cut in. Or what you do is you let Live golfers that are in the top 50 world rankings into these elevated events, and the non-Live golfers that can't, or the Live golfers that are not in the top 50 that wouldn't qualify for this event, for this elevated event, let the Live golfers play in alternate events the weeks opposite of these elevated events.
There you go.
Like the Myrtle Beach. Who's a top golfer that's outside the top 50 now on Live?
DJ.
Dustin Johnson,
yeah.
Yeah,
Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed. Well, no, Patrick Reed still might be top 50. There's a couple guys. Let those guys play and earn world golf ranking points at Myrtle Beach this week. So maybe they're in an event later on.
You let Phil play in Myrtle Beach, and you got all of a sudden the attention's on that event. Like
I can't qualify for Myrtle Beach.
And just to chime on to Jason's comment about, like, look at these previous elevated events. Decky won Century, Rory won Pebble, Oberg won Genesis, Henley won the Arnold Palmer, and JT just won the RBC Heritage. So it's like, yeah, if you're not in the top 10 or top 15 in the world, do you really have a chance at putting 4 rounds together to win this? And so it just, I think it was great for EVR to speak out.
Yeah. I want more golfers not named Rory or Scottie to speak up. I want the other golfers that it actually matters to more than those guys to speak up and get their way. Jason, you're spot on. It's like they have no clue what they're doing, the leadership of the PGA Tour.
No.
Well, no, what major sport doesn't give a shit about their fans or their stud players, like in that way? Like, you think the NBA is going to do something that pisses off LeBron and Shea Gilchrist and all, all these, like, it's no. You have to be in touch with one or the other or both, and they're not. The PGA Tour is not.
They're pretty. I think that's been the common thing since this whole live debacle started years ago. Is that Jay Moynihan
he's a moron.
How does he still have a job?
Yeah.
Can you? Who else out of Steven? If you were as bad at your job as Moynihan is at his, would you still be working for a PennDOT right now if you were that bad at your job?
No, but the other person I was going to say is Daryl Morey. He apparently would be able to keep his job. So,
That's very, very true. Very fair point. And I think that's a great way to wrap up this show right there on this. Seal the deal with that. But anyway, guys, fantastic show. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Steven. Everybody, if you're in the Philly area, you're heading out to the Truist Championship. Muchas gracias. Have a great time at it. Send me pictures. Send me videos. I know Steven's going to send me some clips, and I'm going to post them on the YouTube page. So make sure you hit that like button up there. That's a share button and a subscribe button for all the great golf content, guys. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Everybody have a great Tuesday night. Everybody enjoy the Truist. Everybody have happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And, of course, happy birthday to my number one dude, Jack Sullivan right there. The coolest kid. Period. I don't think there's any other joke there. Just the coolest kid.
The
coolest kid out there.
Yeah.
So happy birthday to Jax. Everybody have a great weekend. Go Birds and bubbles up.